Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh, Mahashem, Yahweh Shah, Mahashem, Machak, Wadash, the honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders, a great millstone, peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the tabernacles of David scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, whomever you may be, whoever you may be, to you I say Shalom, Shalom. All right, we're going to get into this session here, based off the previous one we did. Speaking about the China's Belt and Road Initiative. Okay, something that they're doing, you know, very heavily, putting millions of dollars here and there to do certain things, to build up infrastructure and so on and so forth. And as a matter of fact, we could probably bring out that scripture that we brought the last time. See, we got it in one of my books. Probably do. Yeah, here it is. I don't even have to pull that up. Because we read this, we read both versions, KJV and the GNT. I read the KJV first. In 2nd Ezra chapter 15. Okay, so I guess I just get the main verses because that's what matters. It says, "And thou, Asia, that are partaker of the hope of Babylon, and art the glory of her person." All right, so we were likening things that China is doing to, to what the scriptures say, because America is supposed to be the number one country, in the world. Supposed to be the greatest economy. Now, at some point, America was the place where people wanted to go. Now, it's still a place where some people want to come because of their living situation in their current country. All right, if it's lesser than an economy in America, then of course they would want to come to America because they know if they come to America, they can do anything, just about. A lot of countries come here, set up companies, businesses, and things of that nature. People come here and then they'll send money back home, probably eventually move back home themselves because the American economy, like when you take the American dollar in other places, the amount of American dollars converted to another country's money could be a lot more than it is in American money. So they can send money home, save it, all right? And when they go back home, they're rich, okay? So, a lot of places come here to make merchandise out of Babylon, like we read the last time in Revelation, the 18th chapter. Okay, the merchants of the earth, so on and so forth. We also read it in Ezekiel, the 17th chapter. There was another scripture in Nahum, but I don't think we ever grabbed that one. But it's not as pinpoint as the other ones. It talks about it says something about the prancing chariots and stuff like that. I guess we'll try to find it real quick. Like Nahum 1 or 2, maybe. Okay, it's probably 1. Okay, nope, it got to be 3 then. Yep, it's got to be. How do I jump over? Here we go. 3, Nahum 3. I always think it's 2 or 1. Yep. See, woe to the bloody city. It is all full of lies and robbery. The prey departed not. And who's that prey? All right. Let's talk about us Israelites. All right. The bloody city, Babylon the Great, aka America the West. All right. The great city, the golden city, spiritual Sodom and Egypt, revival of the ancient Roman Empire, so on and so forth. All right. It's talking about the West. Woe to the bloody city. It is all full of lies and robbery. The prey departed not. We're the prey. And we've always mentioned that and when Yahushua returns, we're going to be found in Esau's hand, because that goes back to the law. Paraphrasing what that scripture says about, the law dealing with that. And he that be found with the man in his hands, all right, shall surely be put to death. All right, it's like a form of active kidnapping. Okay. And when the Lord returns, Esau is not going to want to be taken out of power. He's going to go out kicking and screaming like the little kid you have to drag out of the office. Your child is acting up. All right, you got to drag him out of that office, have him sit outside in the car with somebody, or take him to the bathroom for a spanking, whatever, acting up in public. Okay, that's Esau being taken out of power. He's not going to go down smoothly. He's going to fight and try to delete you Israelites, okay, and enslave the world. He's also going to fight against Yahushua and the angels. Say that in Revelation 12. All right, Michael and his angels fought Esau Well, the devil and his angels fought. Okay, so he's not gonna go down, like smoothly, right? He's gonna go out with a fight because he doesn't. He has the mindset of, if I'm not in power, nobody's gonna be in power because nobody can run the earth except me. But then you look around and look at the earth; it's all effed up. All right, he's destroyed the earth, and the scriptures speak about that in Revelation. Destroyed him that destroyed the earth. Okay, but yeah, just centering back. When the Lord returns, we're going to be found in the hands of Esau, right? He's going to be put to death. The noise of a whip and the noise of the rattling of the wheels and of the prancing horses and of the jumping chariots. Okay, and America is a great place of a lot of business and commerce and things of that nature. A lot of that comes off of the backs of the Israelites. All right, us. Okay, how the economy, is constantly, churned off the backs of the Israelites. All right. Um, which actually that's really the verse that I wanted, verse 1. But we'll read the next two, I guess. The horseman lifted up both the bright sword and the glittering spear, and there was a multitude of slain and a great number of carcasses, and there is none in of their corpses. They stumble upon their corpses because of the multitude of the whoredoms, see, of the well-favored harlot, the mistress of witchcraft. Okay, and we know Babylon the Great is spoken about in Revelation 17 chapter. In particular, I'm speaking of verse 5. Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. All right, this place, Babylon the Great, um is where the most evil, all right, spreads out from. Okay, from under the wings of this eagle. Okay, because of the multitude of the whoredoms of the well-favored harlot, right? Because everybody likes to come here. The mistress of witchcrafts, which it talks about them and their witchcraft, and I think it's Isaiah 47. It speaks about staying out with thy enchantments, you labor from my youth, so on and so forth. Okay, that selleth nations through her whoredoms, and the scriptures speak about how all the nations are mad, but you chose to. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna get that one next. All right, that selleth nations through her whoredoms and families through her witchcraft. All right. And it says, therefore the nations are mad, and it'll bring us back to our, topic. The nations, is that in Revelation 18? I'm not sure. We'll bring it up. Okay, I'm thinking about something else. Yep. So here we go. Jeremiah 51. Yep. Yep. What was I thinking about? Oh no, I was thinking about. Yeah, I was thinking about something else. But anyways, uh, Jeremiah 51:6. Flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity. And this is a message to the Israelites, because if you read 5, for Israel had not been forsaken, nor Judah his power, O Yahweh of hosts, hosts meaning armies, though their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel. Flee out of the midst of Babylon. That's a warning, all right? Okay, get away from partaking in her ways, all right, and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, in Babylon's iniquity, because if you're found, joined together with Esau, as the scriptures say, the hand joining hand, all right, the wicked shall not go unpunished, all right. You're going to be seen as also the wicked, and you'll be destroyed in like manner as the wicked. For this is the time of Yahweh's vengeance. He will render unto her recompense. You see, yes. Second Thessalonians talks about the recompense, all right. And that, I think it was in Hebrews, where it says, "Vengeance belongeth unto me," or one of those chapters in the New Testament, "Vengeance belonging unto me." But, and these churches keep talking about God is all love. Well, what does it say here? It's the time of Yahweh's vengeance. This is a future prophecy. This hasn't happened yet. So if God is all love, how is the future prophecy speaking about the Lord's anger? See? Vengeance, all right? The Lord Yahweh's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. Who's her? Babylon the Great, all right? Here it is right here. Babylon, that's the her, had been a golden cup. Let's see what this says here for golden cup. Oh, I got the wrong. Hold on. Cup. All right, kawas is the word there. Kawas. It just says cup. Wow, it says account of owl and unclean bird. That's interesting. All right, but hey, America is a filthy bird. Hold on, I keep getting it wrong. Okay, golden. All right, Zahab, gold, as precious metal of a measure of weight, of brilliance of splendor. So not nothing uh not nothing too off the rails there. As a matter of fact, let's see what it says in the NLT real quick, since we have access to it. Babylon has been a gold cup in the Lord's hands, so it says the same thing. All right. But it's what we just mentioned, though, from Revelation 18, chapter 17 and 18. Babylon had been a golden cup in the Lord Yahweh's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. You see? So these nations got, Psalms 83rd chapter, these nations got together, all right, and conspired, con, wit, spire, breath, or spirit, one spirit. They were all one mind, one consent, okay, to cut us off from being a nation and to, make business one with another. That's why we spoke about Revelation 18 chapters, which is about the merchants of the earth, okay? And this one particular merchant we're talking about is China, all right? Had drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad, okay? So, yeah, so that can bring us back over to this verse here where we were reading, and thou, Asia, that are partaker of the hope of Babylon, and art the glory of her person. And as we mentioned, that Belt and Road Initiative, all right, is a part of how China is making itself, as I called it the other day, the Chinese America, all right, because they are doing a lot with the Belts and Roads Initiative. Um, the Silk Road, well, actually the new Silk Road, because the Silk Road was an old trade route, and they're redoing it, and it's called the new Silk Road, all right, which lines up with the Arctic Silk Road, whatever they call it, Arctic Silk Road, whatever. All the same thing, the Silk Road in the Arctic. Basically where they're trying to get around, I think it was the Strait of Hormuz, and I forget the name of the other one. I can't really remember that name. But basically, from having to stop and go through the hands of American-controlled areas, where they're going to make routes, where they're making routes through the Arctic, and they don't have to worry about all these different, extra stops from Babylon the Great and all these kinds of things of that nature, and military presence or anything like that, because the route goes through the Arctic, and part of the Arctic is in Russian waters. So there's nothing that anyone can do about it. All right. And so, and what that's doing is shaving off time and money, okay, in their trade route. And and America is not too happy about that. All right. They feel like they're behind, okay, on these Arctic icebreakers, breaking up the ice to move ships through the Arctic. Okay. And that's something that Russia, I believe you can get that in the last video. I believe it was in there somewhere, one of those videos that we played. But Russia and China basically came together, all right, with this idea, and that's what they're working on, all right. Um, and then, but there's another thing, all right, that stems from all of that. But let's keep reading. It says, "Not the glory of her person. Woe be unto thee, thou wretch, because thou hast made thyself like unto her." Who's the her? Who's the wretch? He's calling, Asia, which really is talking about China in particular, all right. China, all right? Moab, that's the rich that made thyself like unto her. Who's the her? Babylon, all right? And has decked thy daughters in whoredom, that they might please and glory in thy lovers. Okay, which that's where we just talked about the Belt and Roads Initiative, right? When you're going to research that, China's doing a lot with the Belt and Roads Initiative, and that's exactly what pretty much the place that America was in, as we just spoke about not too long ago, where it's the great place of merchants and commerce and stuff like that, and everybody comes here just try to so-called make a better life, or they'll establish businesses here, all right, whether they live here or not. You have Asian companies with businesses here, other foreign nations with businesses here. Some of them live here, and so on and so forth, and they make a lot of merchandise off of Babylon, and it speaks about that in Revelation 18th chapter, all right. The merchants of the earth, and so on and so forth, no more buys her merchandise anymore, because Babylon is destroyed, all right. So it says, that has decked thy daughters in whoredom, that they might please and glory in thy lovers, excuse me, which have always desired to commit whoredom with thee. That has followed her that is hated in all her works, which is Babylon, and inventions. Therefore, said the Most High, I will send plagues upon thee, widowhood, poverty, famine, sword, and pestilence, to waste thy houses with destruction and death. All right. And we read those scriptures the last time. I want to jump over here. I'll leave that up. And we'll get into this video because this all trickled down from the last session, right, which started from the Belt and Road Initiative. But this one is about the digital Silk Road. So let's get into the video.
What is China's digital Silk Road? Have you ever wondered how China is reshaping the digital world? The Digital Silk Road is a fascinating part of China's Belt and Road Initiative, which is the largest infrastructure project globally. Launched around 2015, this initiative aims to connect countries through advanced digital technology.
And right there, it aims to connect countries through advanced digital technology, all right, which a lot of that is based on those 5G towers and things, okay? And this is always the question that comes up, all right, if these countries are such enemies, which they are, all right, but behind closed doors, everybody's doing the same thing, all right? It's all about digital this, digital that, all right, biometrics, facial scans, and, all this kind of, you get the point, okay?
The Digital Silk Road focuses on building and expanding digital networks and services across Asia, Africa, and beyond. It supports various sectors, including telecommunications, artificial intelligence, cloud computing, e-commerce, mobile payment systems, surveillance technology, and smart cities.
See, y'all, you heard everything. Let me play it back for you.
Including telecommunications, artificial intelligence, cloud computing, e-commerce, mobile payment systems, surveillance technology, and smart cities.
All right. All those things, main ones, surveillance technology, smart cities, and AI. All right. Now, there's a couple other things that were also important, but those are the three that stand out the most. Okay. And it says, what, in Asia and abroad, Asia, Africa, and abroad, more places. All right.
This is not just about technology. It is about creating connections and opportunities.
I'm going to read this real quick. What is China's digital Silk Road? So efforts include setting up cellular networks and improving the internet connectivity. I think 5G we just talked about. The initiative helps modernize economies and enhance digital services in developing nations. It aims to strengthen China's influence in global technology markets. Yeah, what it's doing is connecting everybody digitally because the new age, all right, is digital. Okay, we've been put out a few videos about that as of late. Some here and there, the age of AI and robotics. All right, because that's where we are. All right, Esau's season is the age of AI.
Technology companies like Huawei play a significant role in this initiative. They provide hardware and software solutions to partner countries. This includes setting up cellular networks, improving internet connectivity, and developing digital payment platforms.
Okay, so I know she was going to read it, but it's okay.
These efforts help countries modernize their economies and enhance digital services for their citizens.
See, it says it helped these countries modernize their economies because at some point you had places that had no cell phones, that had no laptops and computers and internet and stuff like that, and now they have it. All right, they they still I don't know. You get the point. All right, a rundown country, but yet they got cell phone and internet.
From China's
for example, where is that? The Philippines, okay? Like when you see the Philippines, everything's all dumpy and trashy. All right. People, look run down, it'll be raining and they'll just be out there in the rain, just, like it's whatever. Okay. But and you see, this rundown economy, but everybody's walking around with cell phones. You see? That's a perfect example.
Point. The Digital Silk Road is a way to share its technological advancements while supporting economic growth in developing nations. It also aims to strengthen China's influence in global technology markets. The initiative receives strong government support and backing from policy banks, allowing Chinese companies to expand their reach in emerging markets. One practical example of the Digital Silk Road is the construction of fiber optic cables. These cables improve internet access and speed in various regions. Additionally, launching satellites is another crucial aspect.
Yeah, I bet satellites. Just like you got what Elon Musk launching up Starlink and stuff like that.
As they help provide better connectivity. Smart city projects are also part of this initiative, utilizing sensors and data to improve urban life.
Now, I know you probably heard a lot about smart cities. I just put up a quick one, all right, just so we can at least get it, okay? Define smart cities, okay? Maybe you have, maybe you haven't heard it, okay? Hopefully they give us the shortest answers here. It's taking a long time to think. You might need a coffee. All right, here we go. Smart city is an urban area that uses information and communication technologies, or ICT, and the Internet of Things. Yep. Internet of Things, also one of them called Internet of Bodies, I believe it is, to collect and analyze data with the goal of improving the quality of life, efficiency, and sustainability of urban services and the environment. All right. Smart infrastructure. This involves connecting physical assets like roads, buildings, and utilities using sensors and other devices. For example, smart streetlights can use motion detectors to light up when needed to save energy. So they're giving you the fluff and frou-frou, but they're not telling you that really we just want you hoarded into one place, all right, living on our grid, off of our income, under mass surveillance by, cameras, and with the microchip in your body, okay? To see sustainable environment. Smart cities incorporate green technologies like smart grids and renewable energy sources, solar and wind, to monitor and minimize their environmental impact, aiming for reduced carbon emissions and more efficient resource consumption, water and energy. All right. So you can read more on that yourself. Okay, who is that? Okay, the IoT, a vast network of interconnected devices and sensors that collect and transmit data in real time. AI, and analytics, systems that analyze the collected data to identify patterns, make informed decisions, and automate responses to changing urban conditions. Yeah, see, like I said before, they give you the fluff and frou-frou of it, but really, it's just Esau wanting to control the general population, all right, which is why they're trying to downsize it, all right? They're going to delete many, okay? It's going to be given into their power to do so. They're going to delete many to downsize the population, which is part of their agenda, okay? And then issue forth that microchip, because see, they're trying to play God, but yet they don't have the means to, to operate on that level. So in order for our AI system to work, we got to downsize the population, to work, right? But let's get back into it.
This initiative is essential for China as it competes with other major technology powers, particularly the United States. By investing in digital infrastructure,
and as we just read in Sega Edges, right? That a partaker, or whatever. I forget exactly what it said, but this is why I keep calling China the Chinese America, all right? Because what it's doing, all right, really screams out their scripture to me, because, they are trying to put themselves in a position of Babylon the Great. We talked about that the last time. When Babylon's destroyed, these countries are going to break up from their little alliances, because everybody's going to fight one another, because they want that seat that Babylon had, all right? But Yahushua is going to come, all right?
Structure abroad, China aims to shape the future of global technology and create new opportunities for its technology sector. Looking back at Chinese history, the Digital Silk Road represents a modern continuation of China's long tradition of innovation and international cooperation.
See?
It builds on earlier efforts to connect with other countries through trade and infrastructure, now updated for the digital age. This initiative
you heard it says now updated for the digital age, because that's what we are, right? The age of AI and robotics.
China's commitment to using technology as a tool for development and global leadership.
China's Belt and Road Initiative, $1 trillion.
And this is just another video, so we're listening to this one too.
Infrastructure project that is looking to recreate an ancient trade route across Eurasia.
Which that's what we just talked about, the Silk Road, and they're now trying to recreate that route, and is dubbed as the new Silk Road, all right? Because it was a major trade route, okay?
The sister program that is just as ambitious. Dubbed the Digital Silk Road, this initiative is looking to leverage China's growing tech prowess into connecting Asia and Africa through fiber optic cables and software companies. However, China's significant strides in digital technology have sparked concerns, mostly from the United States. Will the creation of a Chinese-led digital Silk Road threaten the U.S.'s decades-long dominance in tech? And is a digital Cold War brewing between the two rivals? Nelly Kozad tells us more.
For decades, Western tech giants have dominated the global digital space, from the hardware and infrastructure to the software powering our devices. But is the West's lead slowly waning thanks to China? The world's second largest economy is expanding its technological footprint with a project it calls the Digital Silk Road. First unveiled in 2015, the Digital Silk Road aims to bring this ancient trade route back to life through investments in tech infrastructure that will digitally connect Europe, Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. An offshoot of the trillion-dollar Belt and Road Initiative, Beijing says it wants to offer countries alternative options away from the traditionally Western-dominated ones.
And that was a mouthful right there, all right? That's what everything has been about with these BRICS nations, all right? Trying to move around, America, all right? And cut America out of the picture, all right? Which those countries are actually doing just fine without Babylon, but they're not complete without Babylon because the American dollar is a reserve currency of the world, all right? And that's what they're aiming to do, these BRICS and the BRICS Plus, to initiate trade and stuff like between themselves using their own currency. All right. Now, there's not one single currency. It's like if I need something from Russia and vice versa with China. All right. They trade in their Chinese dollars and convert it to Russian, so they don't have like a single, form of currency. All right. As of yet. And though they may seem like the enemy on the opposite side, that one single currency that's going to come along eventually is going to be digital currency. Well, guess what? America's doing the same thing because it's all in league with the one plan. All right, digital banking, digital currencies. All right, and to microchip everyone under that system, and anyone that's not along with it to lead them to their own slow death, or for them to just put them to death themselves. See, by some kind of draconian measure. All right, beheading and things of that nature. What the scriptures speak about that. All right. But there could be other forms of death, So yeah. So as a matter of fact, we're in that little short part back.
Beijing says it wants to offer countries alternative options away from the traditionally Western-dominated ones. But not everyone is happy about China's rapid rise.
The U.S. and Europe, along with many others, are concerned by China's actions, from its pursuit of economic coercion to macroeconomic imbalances that are leading to industrial overcapacity.
Chinese firms like Huawei and ZTE are involved in this digital transformation by providing expertise and equipment. Their products range from phones, semiconductors, storage solutions, surveillance systems, and 4G and 5G network solutions.
There you go. We just talked about that, which 4G is outdated when you talk about 5G. But also surveillance going into their, because they said they have like one camera for every 10 people in China. And there's a lot of people in China, man. All right. So they are under mass surveillance. Okay. You do certain things that plaster your face up on the board. Excuse me. And eventually, if you did it enough times or your crime is big enough, it'll affect your social credit score. All right. And that's important because to those people, because it locks them out of doing certain things, accessing certain things. You want to go somewhere, you got to travel. Maybe your job has you to travel somewhere, or maybe you're just traveling on your own, and you want to check into this hotel. There's no hotel in your, general location, your area, or wherever, and your credit score is too low to check in. So what are you going to do? All right, you don't have anywhere to sleep. I mean, I'm pretty sure if you probably try to sleep on a bench or something, they'll probably lock you up, okay, and release you, in 24 hours or something like that. All right, so it's just, a world of crap, which is basically is a light, forceful way of trying to make people do what they say is right, okay, and not get out of line with the law of the land, right, with the government or whatever, right? So that it's a lesser form of control, because the ultimate form of control is the microchip, and that's why everybody's going digital, man, okay, because everybody's in line with the new system of Esau.
But in 2019, the US imposed strict sanctions on Huawei semiconductor chips over concerns that they could be tools used for espionage. China says the West is overstretching.
Yeah, I bet they would say that because America does that. Okay, our phones, laptops, TVs. Okay, all kinds of microphone pieces, anything with a microphone or a camera to it. It's a spy device, but you talk about another country.
We firmly oppose United States' generalization of the concept of national security, abuse of state power, and unreasonable suppression of Chinese companies. The United States violates international rules. It will also harm itself, and it will eventually shoot itself in the foot.
Turkey is among the countries that view this BRI offshoot as an opportunity to diversify its digital economy and foster a deeper relationship with China, already its second largest trade partner. Chinese tech companies have become big investors in Turkey's booming e-commerce market, and Huawei has signed deals with the country's major telecom providers on 5G connectivity.
From Korea, I think Turkey is one of those big major players. I can't remember if it's. I can check it real quick. I can't remember if it's mentioned in what is it, Ezekiel 38 chapter. I can't remember if it's mentioned there or not. I can pull it up real quick. But Turkey is a major player. I know it mentions Togomar and so on and so forth. Here it is. Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togomar of the north quarters and all his bands, and many people with thee. Yeah, because that's over there near, you have Georgia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, between those two bodies of water. Okay. What is the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea? Let me see here. Gomer. Not Gomer Pyle. Oh boy. Nothing else generating. Gomer Pyle. Let me go back here. So let me see. Okay, I think I see something here. I can't. They're not letting me click on it. I was trying to pull up that little picture there. Okay. Maybe I can. Oh, there it is. It took long enough. Hold on. Everything's zoomed in. I can't really see it. The word is known to the Hebrews. Yeah, I can't really see that. Oh, see Togomar, you see right there. Little Mount Ararat, which is in Turkey. So Togomar. All right. So yeah. So Togomar would be. Damn it. This thing. It would be over closer to this area, if I'm correct. More so to this area, because that's what we just mentioned: Georgia, Armenia, all right, Azerbaijan, all right, there. Because as it just mentioned, let me go back to that scripture. Actually, I might have to back up. Yeah, Togomar, all right, the north quarters, all right. So yeah, over there near those areas there. So yeah, Turkey, just a side note there, Turkey being one of those major players for the end time, all right, with other nations like China, Russia, especially Russia, okay, and so on and so forth.
And it's not just Turkey. China's geopolitical influence has reached far and wide as countries across Asia and Africa seek to forge partnerships with non-Western groups like BRICS and the SCO. Those
Yeah, and we just mentioned the BRICS. Let me see what the SCO. I forget what it stands for. Let me see. Let's pull this up. All right, what is the SCO? No, ask for that. Okay, yeah, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, intergovernmental organization established in 2001 by China, Russia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan, with the aim of promoting cooperation and peace among its member states, as well as fostering a new democratic, fair, and rational international All right, so I just want to, so the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, all right? So China, Russia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan, all right? So let's go back.
Silicon Valley
So it said,
groups like BRICS and the SCO.
and we know the BRICS are Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, all right? And then you have the plus nations, others that are joined up with it or applying and waiting for membership.
Though Silicon Valley remains the global tech leader, Beijing's rapid gains are raising eyebrows in Western capitals. Those suspicions are mirroring growing geopolitical tensions between Beijing and Washington. And how this digital rivalry plays out between these two tech superpowers is still anyone's guess. Nili Kozad, Straight Talk.
For more on the Digital Silk Road initiative, joining me now from Beijing is Andy Mok. He is a senior research fellow at the Center for China and Globalization. And from Ankara, Shuaynihan Özkalan. She is an associate professor over at Ankara's Hacı Bayram Veli University. Welcome to both of you. Andy, let me begin with you. For the better part of a decade, we've been talking about the Belt and Road Initiative. How does the Digital Silk Road fit into all this?
Well, the Digital Silk Road is an integral part of the Belt and Road Initiative because the attention that's given to the Belt and Road Initiative largely focuses on the physical infrastructure, so the roads, the power plants, the ports, etc. But as we all know, hardware without software really doesn't work very well. So the Digital Silk Road complements the physical infrastructure with all of the, loosely speaking, we can think of it as the software, the digital, the electronic aspects to.
Yeah, so and that was the main point right there. Okay, you have the new Silk Road, which is a trade route they're trying to revive, and then the Digital Silk Road, you know, it's like they're trying to revive the ancient trade route, but digitally, all right? So you have the actual trade route, and then you have this digital connectivity, so you can kind of see, you know, exactly where that's going there, all right, in case you were kind of lost, all right?
That. And of course, there is some hardware, servers, other things that allow us to conduct our lives digitally. And increasingly, our digital lives and our physical lives are merging, as we see with e-commerce, ride-hailing in the consumer-facing world. And there's a whole host of other industrial applications as well, where the digital part of the activities are just as important as the more observable physical ones.
Andy, here's the concern that some may have with all this. When you're talking about Chinese software, I think two words initially pop into your mind, and that is surveillance and data connection. How is this going to be, how much of a challenge is this going to be to sort of topple the U.S. tech dominance?
Well, I think the issue here is largely perception. So there is still, I think, a quite prevalent view that Western, largely American technology offers greater data security and greater privacy as well. But if we look back to some really shocking and flagrant examples, I think the most blatant one is the Edward Snowden revelations in 2013, where it was discovered that through American technology platforms and products that the United States government was surveilling in an unprecedented way people all around the world, including some of its closest allies. So I think that these issues, these perceptions are real, that Western technology is seen as somehow more secure and offering greater privacy. But at the same time, I think, objectively speaking, all technology poses risk.
And I'm glad he said that. I was trying to wait to see what else he was going to say. But yeah, I was about to say that. That's what they say. But ultimately, doesn't matter where you are. Which I mean, man, who's China to say anything about, you know, surveillance? As we just mentioned, we already talked about China and their surveillance. Those types of surveillance measures is what they want to bring here to Babylon the Great. All right, you know, they got these data centers they're building up. You got things like Palantir. They're talking about precognition, which is not exactly as according to the movie, But this collection of data and people's patterns online and where they're researching the messages that they display or comments that they make, and they're gonna say, oh, we foresee that you're some kind of rebel or anarchist or some terrorist or something, and that we feel like you might end up doing this based on your pattern of comments and things that you research and videos that you watch. And that's their way of precognition, all right, through this collection of data and filtering through, and it says that, hey, we think this person is going to eventually one day pose a threat, and we'll come in, we're going to see you.
Is a never-ending game of ensuring that data security and privacy requirements are met.
Okay, Andy, hold on just one second. I want to get Shuai into the conversation. Shuai, good to see you. Turkey has traditionally sat at the crossroads, at a very pivotal role of the traditional Silk Road. How is Turkey going to benefit from this?
Thank you, Alican. And Andy already mentioned that Digital Silk Road is a complementary part of the Silk Road initiative of China. And in this respect, Turkey has been already a successful partner in the trade and the global trade routes together with China in very multi-diverse sector. And when it comes to the Digital Silk Road, I can say three main points would be beneficial by the Turkey. First one, Turkey and China make collaboration on especially the digital economy development to have bigger job opportunities in Turkey, and especially these areas are e-commerce and artificial intelligence. And secondly, Turkey and China made a very important cooperation, especially the broadband network and the 5G infrastructure both in the Turkey. And the last thing, I think it's not only the mutual benefits that Turkey can have from the Digital Silk Road, but it's also bilateral and multilateral platforms like the organization Turkic States could be a benefit for the Turkeys, and the China can work together to have much more effective digital infrastructures and investments through this program that fueled by the China.
I want to talk another area that could be of mutual benefit in terms of perhaps the country using Turkey to leapfrog certain restrictions. And I'm talking because of the perceptions that Andy was just mentioning about. Talk to me about, both of you, the importance that Turkey plays in entering particular markets like the European Union if it can't do it directly. Andy, let me begin with you.
Sure. Well, I think Turkey absolutely has a vital role to play because we touched on the hardware and the software aspects of the Digital Silk Road. But another very, very important piece of the puzzle are the standards, the policies, and the procedures. So if we think about, for example, e-commerce, there not only needs to be the IT infrastructure that allows this trade to happen and the software, the applications that consumers and businesses can use to buy and sell things, but without some harmonization and standardization of shipping, of payment, of settlement, none of this would work. So when we look at the Eurasian landmass, and we could put Africa in this as well. I mean, this is a majority of the world's population. It's an enormous part and a rapidly growing part of global GDP. So, and of course, Turkey sits literally bridging Europe and Asia. So I think it has a very, very vital role to play at every layer of the technology.
And yeah, because when you look at the map, what he was talking about bridging them, when you look at the map of well, I guess I can pull it up real quick. I didn't expect to do that, but just show you what he's talking about, okay? Because you can just travel straight there. Let's put map so that hopefully we can get directly to it. Okay, yeah. So let me just actually there was something down there. Here's one. Can we get it? Okay, here we go. So when you look at Turkey, all right, when you look at, damn it, this thing. Okay, here we go. Trying to zoom this in. It's probably about the best I can do. But when you look at Turkey, so this right here, where you see Syria, Iraq, and everything south of there, that's known as Asia, all right? See, it's only in American news and media where you hear them say Middle East, Middle East, Middle East. But when you listen to these foreign countries and their their news and media, you will hear them say Asia, all right, because this is the area of Asia, not just those alone where it says Syria and Iraq, and, there's a bigger portion, but I'm just making a point. That's Asia, all right? And then, of course, when you keep moving past Iran and Iraq, which this map looks kind of weird, but yeah, it's kind of right, but not quite. But anyways, the point being, when you keep moving past those places, you eventually get to where the lands of the Stan, all right, as I call them, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, Stan, this, Stan, that. South of there, you get what, India. Eventually, you far enough east, you'll hit China, and over the waters, you hit Japan. All right. So Asia. But this thing is But anyways, we can just use this one. So, and then you have Turkey, which sits right here, okay, as known as Asia Minor also. And then when you go up here to this land at the north, all right, where it says Bulgaria, Greece, that land connects that area over there that leads to what they call today Europe. So that's what he was talking about there, okay? So let me go back. I'll rewind it back for you.
Bridging Europe, literally bridging Europe and Asia. So I think it has a very, very vital role to play at every layer of the technology stack, hardware, software, and policies, procedures, etc.
Andy, I'll ask you about the expansion policy when it comes to the African continent just a bit, but Shuaib, let me turn to you. Turkey and the European Union have a customs agreement. How does the Chinese software, the 5G, the digital economy, use this to actually enter that market?
Well, Alija, first thing is that, of course, the logistic advantage of the Turkey makes much more easy to sell different digital products to EU. But at the same time, as you mentioned, that because Turkey is a part of the custom union, it has a different some other applications compared to the other countries. And when it comes to the mutual contracts or agreements with some specific sectors, companies between Turkish and the Chinese companies, it would be much more easy to reach out the European market through the custom union regime. Also, I should be open the parenthesis here. Turkey is right now on the process of upgrading the custom union. If we can manage to do with the EU side, it will be much more advantageous for Chinese and the Turkish companies' cooperation in this sector too.
Okay. Andy, let me come back to you in terms of the African continent. Here you have two countries that are essentially 2.0 when it comes to countries trying to expand their influence compared to the traditional imperialist or colonial philosophy. How can they both compete and actually succeed together?
Well, I think there's certainly more opportunities for cooperation and collaboration in Africa. So it's, of course, an enormous, diverse continent with varying levels of economic development and concomitant different economic requirements and opportunities as well. So I think that certainly a partnership and cooperation offers much greater upside than I think direct competition. And also, as you rightly pointed out, I think China's approach has always been win-win, respect for mutual sovereignty.
Okay, Andy, thank you. Shuaib, I'm going to give you the last word. In a world where we're seeing the world order change, globalization is on the decline because of digital trade, cross-border e-commerce and digital services, is it a win-win, like Andy said, between Turkey and China?
There is no doubt, otherwise it doesn't work in the long term and it won't be sustainable. I can also say that especially using a Turkish network in Africa would be an interesting benefit for the Chinese digital Silk Road project, because both countries have already lots of deep relations with Africa, but Turkey has its own very unique relations. And in this respect, it will be much more work together, more efficient for both countries, and also continent favor itself.
Professor Lim, now that we're on the topic.
Okay, so this is another video here, which I clipped it because there's a big major portion of this first part of this video, but it was talking about the Belts and Roads Initiative, which we already covered. So I just clipped it down to where they're talking about, this particular topic here. Let me see if I can, is the volume up? Yeah, the volume's up, so he's just kind of talking low. As a matter of fact, I'll give it a couple ticks here.
Topic on
and we'll just roll it out.
Digital economy. I want to get your thoughts on this quote from the Chinese president, who said China will work with ASEAN on the China.
And also this video isn't brand new either. And he just mentioned ASEAN, which you probably heard before, ASEAN. All right, so you hear about that often. All right.
ASEAN Information Harbor to advance digital connectivity and build a digital Silk Road. Why is digital economy and digital connectivity emphasized? Why is it so important for China and ASEAN?
And before he even gets into that, I mean, it's because we know why it's so important. Okay. Let's see, we can get rid of this, get rid of that. We'll just use this. I don't have some other book. We'll just use this one. Okay. We know why it's so important, because this is what the whole world is planning on moving towards. All right. Ultimately. All right. This is where it all leads up to. Okay. Okay, it's still loading. I was like, what the heck? There's more verses in that. We stopped at 7. Okay. All right. So, yeah, Revelation 13:16. Let's get 15. He had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And this is the ultimate, flipping over for a second to Babylon the Great, which is good because, stemming from that second Ezra 15 that we read is about Asia, partaking in this, that, and the third thing, being close is like America, all right? Of course, not America itself, all right? Asia is its own, all right? But in the things that it's doing and how it's operating, how it's moving, okay? And that's why they're talking about the social credit scoring system, okay? They want that model in China here in America, because that is a great way to control the people, but it's not a complete way. The complete way to control the people is the microchip, all right? That's the complete way. But China's one step away from the complete way of controlling the people of the earth, all right? Not saying it's going to be them. I'm just making a point, okay? And then they have their mass surveillance with all the cameras and things of that nature. But the next level to that is to bring forth, the microchip, where you can now be tracked, all right, on some kind of radar. So however it's going to work, basically your location all the time. And then you have things like, Palantir with massive. So all these things that China's doing, they want the upgraded version in Babylon, which is the actual digital system and the microchip to be established. All right. That's the point. Okay. And that image is, after, all of its ways. All right. Because that's where the threats and the taking away of things, come in at. They're telling you that water is a privilege and not a right, and things of that nature. Okay. You will eat the bugs to be happy. You will own nothing to be happy. And, 15 minute cities, UBIs and all this kind of stuff. Those are all things that are tied into the actual system of the microchip. All right. So it says, and he calls it, okay, through their restricting of things, or eventually through force. Okay. All, both small and great. Okay. Doesn't matter if you're old or young. Doesn't matter if you're a so-called celebrity according to this world, or a regular, Joe Schmo in the world, or Jane. All right. Rich or poor, social status. They're doing away with social statuses. All right. It's going to be the 1%, which are those so-called elites. All right. And those that matter to them, which is still a small number, and everybody else. All right. The middle class is slowly being destroyed. Not everybody's feeling it as of right now, because as we always mention, the bigger the city, the bigger the problem, housing, rent, lights, things of that nature. All right. So you can get a place that's a smaller city where it doesn't seem like the middle class is hurting as much. But trust me, it's coming to them, because they're doing away with all, different classes and just classify everybody as one. Okay, whether you're piss poor or, just poor class or middle class or high up, whatever, all it is doing away one whole class and then them. Okay, that's the great separation. So they don't care about any of that. They just cared about, carrying out their plan. Free and bond. Okay, that's straightforward. To receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Excuse me. We know that different companies, or you can say countries, but companies, all right, are fooling around with the brain chip, all right, because we have this AI race that's going on, okay, and then also with robotics and things of that nature, okay, trying to make a humanoid, type of robot, makes it look, human, just like a regular human, all right, but brain chips, but the main one is going backing up to that what it says mark, all right, that charagma, okay, that's the ultimate one. Because that's the ultimate system of control. All right. If they can get the people of the earth to forcefully take the microchip. And when I say forcefully, because as we mentioned, all right, when they need food and water and shelter and things of that nature, all right, and especially if you got a big old family and stuff like that, okay, you're gonna cause that well not gonna cause, but through the force that Esau's, because it's not there's really not a shortage of things, man. It's just this devil is controlling the things, all right. He's what's the term? He's bottlenecking these things, all right. You have like a like a glass bottle, okay, and then at the top of the bottle, what happens? It gets skinnier, and then you have the mouth for the opening. So that's what Esau is doing to the economy. He's doing to the food and things, right? He's bottlenecking everything to make it come out through his system, man. And that's a form of force, okay? As we'll talk about that, right? Weaponizing food and money, taking because you need food to survive, but if the food you can't purchase without having digital currency, well, I gotta purchase it with digital currency. Well, how do I get digital currency? Well, you gotta go along with Esau's microchip. So he's taking those things, putting them together, going hand in hand, and he's weaponizing those things, and that's is a great tool he's going to use, all right, to try to move and herd people into the system, all right. It says in that no man might buy or sell, see, save he, meaning except those that had the mark Nicaragua or the name of the beast or the number of his name, okay. And so that's the system of control there that he wants to spring up into the earth. So that's why we put up this topic about China, all right, emphasizing what China's doing, but they're not doing anything different from what America's doing, all right, Russia, whoever, it doesn't matter, all right. Nobody's doing anything different from what America's going to do, which is establish digital banking systems, okay, and digital currency and microchip, all right. That's what it all leads up to ultimately. So let's go back.
Well, ASEAN has ambitions when it comes to digital infrastructure and economy. As you know, ASEAN wants to launch the network of smart city. This was a network that was proposed under the leadership of Singapore when it was the rotating chair of ASEAN. It has brought together 15 to 20 leading cities within ASEAN in order to connect them digitally for the smart city project. And certainly in this area, ASEAN wants to work with external partners, whether it's EU, US, Japan, but also China as well. And that's where China comes in as an important component of this smart city network. China has technologies that are already implemented within ASEAN countries, for example, transportation.
And I was about, I'm stopping right there real quick, but I'm pretty sure you've heard multiple times about, which he even said it, smart cities, all right? Where everything is on this whole digital grid. So you can see how China's really just playing a part in all of this, establishing of this new system, okay? That's all they're doing. They're just playing their part, okay? But yeah, everything off of this digital grid, okay?
And logistical technology in Malaysia, cashless payment systems in Thailand.
See, you heard him.
Transportation and logistical that are already implemented within ASEAN countries, for example, transportation and logistical technology in Malaysia, cashless payment systems in Thailand, and also many other aspects of technologies that have been implemented. So
cashless payment systems in, I think he said Thailand. That was one of the things that he said there.
Certainly all this.
And what's cashless? Meaning digital money. Okay, going back to that video, I know I mentioned it dozens of times now, but what the lady in the video, her husband was following her around, and they stopped at the vending machine. She asked him if he wanted, whatever he wanted. He said he wanted the water. And when she went to pay for it, she was about to use her phone because their phone is, used for all their operations because they have the social credit score system in it. They have to have the apps, one of the two apps, all right, QR codes, all those things. So they have to do that from their phone. So they need their phone in all their daily operations. They have to check in places by way of the QR code and so on and so forth, okay? So when she was about to pay for it with a phone, how it operates, she realized that she could do it through facial recognition just by her face. And her face is linked to her account. So you see how that works? So they're able to identify you digitally, okay? And as I said before, as we just said, the ultimate form of them identifying you digitally is trying to issue microchips in everybody. Because now you're not only identifiable, but you're also in their clutches where you can't escape. Because now they can turn the chip on, the chip off, whatever the case may be, okay? Just complete control over your life. And if you're not doing what they says is necessary or fit or whatever, however the case may be, okay, then you'll get restricted from things or just completely shut off. And that's where those incentive programs come in. Like, hey, if you do this, it'll up your credit score. All right. This basically took the regular credit score that's always been in existence and made it digital. All right. Now it's a social credit score. All right. Because if you're in line, hey, we'll up your score. But if you're out of line, we're going to drop your score. If you drop it too low, below that acceptable line, there's a lot of things you're going to be restricted from. Okay. If you're just totally rebellious, we just turn your chip off.
The technologically advanced countries, including China, can be reliable partners where that the region can work with these partners in order to design the future digital infrastructure that can help connect all these disparate places within ASEAN together digitally. Geographically, ASEAN is separated into two components: the hinterland, mainland Southeast Asia, as well as maritime Southeast Asia that consists of islands. And digital connectivity can help.
Let me go back. Let me light him up. Yeah, let me slow him down a couple ticks so we can get it all. They won't let me grab it. Okay, here we go.
Hinterland, mainland Southeast Asia.
Okay.
Separated into two components: the hinterland, mainland Southeast Asia, as well as maritime Southeast Asia that consists of islands. And digital connectivity can help to connect all these different places together within this important consumer market of 500 to 600 million people. And this can be potential consumers if Chinese companies come in and are able to establish their digital presence. Then they can be early leapfroggers and early birds catchers the worm, and they can set up the foundational digital infrastructure that can.
Did you hear what he said? All right, let me take it back now. The early bird catches the worm. They're already ahead of the Joker, right? Ahead of the curve. They're already ahead of the curve with the social credit scoring system. Okay, they're trying to be the first to reach this goal. All right, it doesn't matter who reaches it first. All right, to hell with that system. Okay. But just to make the point, let's play it back.
Can help to connect all these different places together within this important consumer market of 500 to 600 million people, and this can be potential consumers if Chinese companies come in and are able to establish their digital presence. Then they can be early leapfroggers and early birds catchers the worm, and they can set up the foundational digital infrastructure that can benefit the standards as well as infrastructures in the future as this digital infrastructure is built upon and developed much further.
See, because what's the ultimate form of this whole digital infrastructure? It's the microchip. It's the digital banks. You see. So enemies on a world stage, those are just these countries fighting about their own differences. But behind closed doors, hey, the ultimate goal is that we want to continue operating in our countries and stay in some form of power. All right, because they're not looking for Yahushua to come. They're not looking for the Israelites to be on top. Excuse me, and so on and so forth. Okay, we could hash out our own differences. All right, on a world stage, but behind closed doors, right? In order for us to pull this plan off, we all got to be in line with this new system, this digital system. That's how we achieve our dominance and and stay in power and so on and so forth, and keep our people in check under subjection. All right, by digitalizing everything. All right, beginning with the banking systems and the currency, and then ultimately issuing the microchip, because that's people's connection to those things. So once it goes digital, UK, all right, you can't work without a digital ID. Okay, so what are the people going to do? All right, they're going to go and get the digital ID, and then they come and say, hey, you can't continue working. All right, you can't work without the digital ID. The next thing you know is you can't continue working without this microchip. So it's just all gradually coming to that little device, man.
Professor Lim, I want to stay with you because as we've been discussing digital economic cooperation, obviously high on the agenda this year as ASEAN's digital economy is estimated to increase from just 1.3% of group GDP in 2015 to 8.5% in 2025. A lot of potential to grow. Where do you think that growth potential lies in terms of sectors? Can you give us examples of how that will continue to happen?
There are strategic sectors in which China is currently leading. For example, cashless payments. China is seen to be a model in cashless payments because it has managed to unify a lot of cashless payment platforms into several.
Now, we're not going to go into all of that because, as I said before, you can watch a previous video we did. I forget the name of it. I think it was on the AI chat. It was China's social credit scoring system. Or you could just do your own research, all right, if you're not familiar with it. Okay. And, then you get a better understanding what this guy is talking about right now, okay?
To unify a lot of cashless payment platforms into several platforms, for example, Alipay, Tencent Pay. And these technologies have a lot of application and use, particularly in ASEAN countries that want to set up their own cashless payment system. Chinese technologies is already present in places like Thailand, for example. Now, the other strategic industry in which it is at the takeoff stage is definitely e-commerce. And certainly Chinese companies like Alibaba has been ahead in terms of the e-commerce industry. For example, it actually bought over Southeast Asia's largest e-commerce operator, Lazada. And through these kinds of strategic pivoting through acquisition of important Southeast Asian e-commerce assets, it is able to position itself strategically as the ASEAN economic community grow as a whole. In December 2015, the 10 ASEAN countries have quietly banded together to form the ASEAN Economic Community, a consolidated market of 600 million people, and this can serve as potential consumers of digital services in e-commerce cashless payment systems, as well as other aspects of electronic industries.
And real quick, because I wasn't going to do it, but I just want to, do I have one? I don't have one. All right. I'm going to ask it one question here. Who forms ASEAN? See if they give a list of these, hopefully. All right. The Association of Southeast Asian Nations was originally formed by 5 founding member countries: Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand. Today, the organization comprises 11 member states. Indonesia, August 8, 1967, Malaysia, 67, Philippines, 67, Singapore, 67, Thailand, 67, Brunei Darussalam, 84, Vietnam, 95, Laos, 97, Myanmar, 97, Cambodia, 99, and Timor-Leste, whatever, 2025. Okay, so that was the newest one. The organization was established with the signing of the ASEAN Declaration, or Bangkok Declaration, on August 8, 1967, to promote political and economic cooperation and regional stability. All right, so those are what he's mentioning there. I was about to ask him something else. I forget. He mentioned it though, which I know about. I just went to pull it up on the screen, but I forgot. It's all good.
Let's talk about RCEP. Ms. Lu Yan here in Beijing. A major aim of this year's expo was to facilitate the recently signed Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or RCEP. Now, as the world's biggest free trade deal, some media outlets have painted it as a challenge to the United States and that China will dominate its partners economically through the deal. There's no getting around the fact that China is a sizable economy that has signed on to that deal. What do you make of China's role in RCEP and its relations with the other signatories to that deal?
RCEP has become a hot word recently in China. If we look at Chinese media, it's full of reports on RCEP and on how RCEP will impact Chinese economy, impacts on the regions. Now we are talking about double circulation of Chinese economy, and with the RCEP, the signing of RCEP, we are trying to connect China's 21 free trade zones with RCEP. And now there's already government documents working on that, and I think it will soon actions and policies comes out towards that direction. And there has been lots of criticism, but there's also a lot of confidence on RCEP. In the past 2 years, the U.S.-China trade war and this year the pandemic to some extent hit our confidence on globalization, but RCEP has regenerated this confidence. It reduced the barriers of trade and investments. I think it's not only to benefit China. Of course, China has the biggest size of economy within RCEP members, but it's a flow of information, flow of people, technology, and it means it also creates opportunities for the members within in Chinese markets. And these times, you know that in Thailand there is a very famous multinational which called Chairong Pokang Group. It has a very good reputation in China. And for example, they have also
I'm
have
gonna jump
lots
past because he ain't really talking about nothing here. Let me jump back down and see what else he talked about.
prizes. Lots of, for example, lots of workers in state enterprise lost their.
Because ultimately, that reboot is just basically trying to upgrade everybody, you know, for the new world, which is the digital world. All right, that's the real upgrade there, the rebooting. Okay, and that's why they talk about, you know, digital infrastructure and all those different things there.
And for trade and economy, we need information asymmetry is the flow of information will create jobs, will create business opportunities. For example, there's lots of investors looking in China, looking for projects overseas, and through.
Yeah, overseas where? Babylon, more than likely, main place. As we read some scriptures, you know, earlier about the, you know, actually I don't think we read Revelation 18, but the merchants of the earth and so on and so forth. All right, we did read a couple of scriptures there. All right, you know, these countries that have you know, jumped in bed with the harlot, with the whore, Babylon. Okay, because it's all about what? Money with these people. Because they, like I said before, they're not looking for, you know, Yahweh Shem Shah. All right, they don't even believe in that. Okay. But what fuels them, all right, is getting money, all right, open up a new company, new business, or new deal, or, you know, or whatever the case may be, all right, just no money, okay. But really, the end game is they're all gonna just be slaves one day, okay. But yeah, you know, that's these countries and these companies are all about making money, all right. These paper dollars that are soon gonna go digital.
We can try to build a kind of information center, and there's projects of outside China, of RCEP member country. They can put their projects information there, but this is, this is not only for China, but also for other countries, and so that this flow of information will generate opportunities. I think, yes.
Thank you very much. I'm afraid that's all the time we have on this part. My thanks go to Lu Yang and Tai Wei.
And that was the end of that one. There's one more. I forgot there's one more video, but this is the last one. Basically, you know, summarizing everything else, you know, that we even watched before. So we just, you know, end with this one.
This is a book about China's digital Silk Road. It's the story of what's at stake, both commercially and strategically. This is the story of China's quest to wire the world and win the future. The digital Silk Road is basically the technology dimension of China's Belt and Road Initiative. And the Belt and Road Initiative, or the BRI for short, it's Xi Jinping's signature foreign policy vision. And so the digital Silk Road includes a whole bunch of digital activities, everything from wireless networks to subsea cables to satellites to smart cities, and what all those.
Right, yeah, setting up what? They're setting themselves up for the new world to come because they know what's coming. They're a part of it, okay, which is the digital world, okay? So the Belts and Roads Initiative, all right, and then you have the trade routes from the Arctic, which is the new Silk Road, and then you have the digital Silk Road, okay? And that's what we're talking about here, this digital Silk Road, setting up all this infrastructure for this new age, okay? China's leading in all these things, man, but these things are what's coming to Babylon the Great, okay, and very swiftly.
Things have in common is they're really the infrastructure of tomorrow. All those activities are often around us.
But you heard him? The infrastructure of tomorrow.
The infrastructure of tomorrow.
See?
And what all those things have in common is they're really the infrastructure of tomorrow. All those activities are often around us, but not very visible. I began this book by asking, how did we get?
See, he says they're often around us, but not always visible. And then it goes to show you what? Cameras, all right? Recognizing people's faces, all right? And that's already happening now in China, okay?
All those activities are often around us, but
which is basically mass surveillance.
Very visible. I began this book by asking, how did we get here? There was this new level of concern, particularly in Washington, about China's emergence as a leader in 5G, but that obviously didn't happen overnight, and so there's a longer story there. A few major takeaways from this book are, number one, technology is a tool. It's neither inherently good nor evil. There was really a lot of, I think, over-optimism about the potential for communications technologies to...
And technology was given from the Lord to the left-hand side. What is it in Daniel? Is that Daniel 12? It says that knowledge shall increase. Okay, and through by way of the internet and these satellites and stuff like that, all right, it has increased, but the most important knowledge to be increased is these scriptures, right? Understanding and knowing what time period we live in and what these things are about and what they mean and why they matter to us, okay?
Expand freedom and liberty. And I think in some ways the pendulum has actually now swung too far in the opposite direction. And that's why it's really important to look at who's using these tools, what are their goals, and what are their capabilities. Another big takeaway is that...
And yeah, they're showing China, even, you know, Russia, but what about America, all right? What about the most wicked evil, okay?
In order to compete, you need to offer affordable alternatives. This is something that China does very well. When you look at the world, it's quite remarkable. More than half of humanity still lacks access to reliable, affordable internet.
And that's part of that digital, everything we talked about before, all right? Connecting Europe, Asia, Africa, all right, through a digital infrastructure, all right, laying that groundwork. So all these countries can when the digital switch comes, all right, hey, we laid the groundwork, so there's no excuse of not being able to come into these countries and make them also digital. You see?
So you have this massive opportunity here to try to close the digital divide and to benefit in doing so commercially as well as strategically. A third really, I think, key takeaway related to that second one is that the United States needs to care about the developing world. You can band together with other wealthy democracies as it's trying to do, but it really does need to build bridges with the developing world. It needs to think about what their needs are.
And that's the thing. They're building the bridges, but the bridges that they're building are the invisible ones, the ones behind the scene, okay? Because everybody's in on the new digital game plan. Everybody's in on this digital infrastructure. Everybody's in on the digital banks and the microchip and stuff like that, okay? But on the world stage, as we said before, they're fighting. This country's fighting that country, right? Those are the personal differences, all right? Which people really get deleted, but those are their personal differences and things of that nature. Which even to some degree, it goes back to the bankers anyways. But those are their personal differences on the world stage. But behind the curtain, all right, when the world stage show is over, when they're behind the curtain, they're all, you know, operating, you know, to move forward towards the same plan, man. All right, which is a digital world where they can enslave everybody.
It needs to offer those affordable alternatives.
And that takes us back to what we read, you know, we started off reading in 2nd Ezra, right? You Asia, thou wretch that is partaker of her, and so on and so forth, all right? Because China is the one who's not only leading in all these things, but it is the country, when you look at it, it is the closest to America, all right? Now, it's not America itself, definitely not, but it's close to it with the things that they're doing, which all stems from their Belt and Road Initiative, and it trickles all the way down to this digital Silk Road.
Allied cooperation will be essential to compete. The United States cannot do this alone, and so it needs allies both to share resources, economically, diplomatically. And those relationships are strong, they're getting stronger, but there are still some real frictions as well. And so managing them, managing expectations, and trying to do that outreach to the developing world is really important.
All right, yeah, and that's that. And then we're going to probably end it here with a couple. Yeah, I can drop that. And that. Drop that. Just grab a couple scriptures and we'll close it right on now, okay? You know, so Lord willing, this has been edifying to you. Jeremiah 48. And I'll just get a couple scriptures out of here. All right, Jeremiah 48, and I want to get the one where it says the pride of Moab. I think it's like 22, maybe down 22 somewhere around here. The scripture says the pride of Moab. And that's a good scripture too, though. What's read here? There's a particular one I was looking for. Might be up top. As a matter of fact, let me just type it in. Because as we said before in the, I believe it was in the first session. All right, once Babylon is destroyed, China has it more in their mind than anyone else that they're going to be the next superpower in the earth. Okay. Here it is 29. All right, we have heard of the pride of Moab. All right, there's another one. Isaiah 16:6. We have heard of the pride of Moab. He is very proud. Right? Doesn't it speak like that when it's talking about America, Babylon the Great, and the Edomites? Okay. So it's speaking about China in the same fashion. We have heard of the pride of Moab. He is very proud, even of his haughtiness and his pride and his wrath, but his lies shall not be so. Okay, which I believe it says the same thing or a similar thing. Jeremiah 48 and 29, we have heard the pride of Moab. He is exceeding proud, his loftiness and his arrogancy. All right, and that says a lot. His loftiness and his arrogancy and his pride and the haughtiness of his heart. What else is around that? I know his wrath, said the Lord Yahweh, but it shall not be so. His lies shall not be so effective. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty much it there. I just wanted to read that. It says the pride of Moab. I mean, let's see what was around 16 in Isaiah. Okay. Same thing. It's pretty much going to the same thing there. All right. So yeah, the pride of Moab. Okay. And you see why we're ending on this scripture here, because everything that we just talked about. So no need to force it. Lord willing, you will edify to next thing. I'm going to say shalom.